Hey guys, this is Heather Shannon, sex and relationship therapist, and I am back today to give you a tour of FetLife. So I've had a few requests of, well, how do you use FetLife? And is it just kind of sketchy? And like, I don't know if I should create a profile. So I would say either if you're a therapist who's looking to work with people more around sexuality and specifically kink, or if you're just a person who is interested in exploring personally and maybe hasn't had the best luck in the vanilla dating world meeting people who are like-minded when it comes to your kinks, FetLife is a great place to go. And just to back it up a second, what is FetLife? FetLife is basically the kinky Facebook. So it's kind of a social networking thing. You can have friends on there. You can look at events that are coming up. There's different discussion groups you can join. You can create a profile. And so I'll cover a few of the basics just to get you guys started and just some recommendations on how to do it safely and get the most out of it. So I've created a demo account here so you guys can see this is pretty much exactly what it's going to look like when you set up your account. I will also add, and I think we can look at this fake profile I set up. So I did put Chicago. You can, if you don't want anyone to know where you are, a lot of people will put Antarctica. And if you don't want people to know how old you are, a lot of people will put, for some reason, I don't know if it lets you be 99 years old, but it lets you be 98 years old. So a lot of people will put that they're, 98 years old. So you'll just have to figure out what birth year you need to put to be 98. And then you also do not have to have a picture. So when I just set up this fake profile, it asked for a picture. I didn't want to put a picture and kind of in smaller print at the bottom there. It will tell you that you can kind of skip this step and come back to it later. So it's really whatever you're comfortable with. And so that's my goal in creating this video is how can you feel comfortable exploring this and feel safe. So one of my top recommendations, and actually just to go back to this homepage, FetLife is going to recommend for you some of their popular groups. So if we take a look at this, you'll see there's a group for newbies, there's a group for kinky and geeky people. That's definitely common in the kink community. Curvy women, people who love them, submissive women, people under 35. You'll notice there's some more explicit language here. And with that, I will say, in the kink community, you're going to find all sorts of people, just like you would anywhere else. And people are going to have all sorts of different preferences as well. And so just kind of be prepared for that. So the words someone chooses, the interest that they have, their kinks might be very different from yours. And they might be shocking. They might provoke sort of a visceral reaction of like, I don't like that. That's, very uncomfortable. And so one of the phrases, I thought my light was going to fall, but it didn't. One of the phrases that you'll hear in the kink community is don't yuck my yum. And so basically what that means is, hey, I'm really into this. This is something that gives me pleasure or is delightful for me. And, don't kind of dismiss that or invalidate it just because it's something that you're not into. So I think that's a great kind of just cultural norm that we could all do well to abide by. So anyway, so if you don't like the words, if you don't like the thing, just move on to what you do like and keep the focus there. So the groups are fine. They're really just discussion based. So if you're just kind of curious to talk to other newbies or something, that's a nice option. I really think the events are a great place to start and a great way to kind of do things safely. So I am going to kind of give more details inside one of these events, but if you just look in, this example is Chicago. In Chicago, it'll show a couple recent events that already occurred, and then you can kind of scroll down and it's in chronological order, and you can see that there's all sorts of stuff. So you'll see age play, there'll be porn stars. I think there was a gangbang on the previous group, previous page. There was a submissive group, people of color group, a gore group, all sorts of things. There's a lot of photography meetups. So check them out and just see, do any of these appeal to me? Am I curious? And I'm going to give you guys an example of a group that seems to be organized really well. So this first one here, Chicago People of Color Munch, it's going to give you a date. It's going to say who it's for. It's going to say the time, the location, what the cost might be, how you should dress. So I like this because they're really breaking it down. They're making it non-intimidating. They're letting you know that you're very welcome here. And then they kind of get into even more detail of like, who is this for exactly? So this is for people of color and their partners who are 18 or over. That it's a sex positive environment. Here they mentioned that they're inclusive of swinging and polyamory. There is a decent amount of intersection between the kink community and sort of the non-monogamous community. They say here's what to look for, so you don't have to like walk into the restaurant and be like, hey, I'm kinky, where's the other kinky people? So there's a lot of sort of measures that these people are putting into place to help make people feel safe and welcome attending. One thing I do want to point out, the host will have on name tags. That's helpful. A lot of the munches will have name tags. A lot don't. But you don't have to give your real name. And that's something that is quite common in the kink community. So if you want to go to an event and you're like, what if I run into somebody I know? First of all, you can leave. But second of all, they're there too. So it can kind of go back to like, don't yuck my yum. And hopefully you can just both support each other in being there. That doesn't happen a ton. But even if you're just kind of like, hey, my job, I don't want anyone to find out. Totally get that. You can give a fake name. And it's really common. And a lot of people, when they create their FetLife account, they will pick a name and use that when they go to the munches. So people might go by, I don't know, the name of an animal or a food or a comic book character or something like that. So you do you. You could just give a different name that you like. It doesn't matter. And you can just tell people, I go by this name, or I go by this name in the kink community. You can tell them whatever you want. So the point is, don't let that stop you if this is something that you're interested in doing. So then this group goes on to say, here's kind of what we do at the munch. They even define it here, which is really nice. So it's called a munch because it typically takes place in a cafe or restaurant, so people are eating. Munches are generally fully clothed, very vanilla. It's just like people socializing with other people out in public. The people just happen to be kink identified. So it can be great. And you don't have to talk to people about kink. You can really just talk to people about whatever. They do mention some etiquette here, which I think gives you kind of a great insight into the culture of the kink community. So they say right up here, refer to people by the name they give you. So people are not going to always use their real birth name or the name they go by with their friends and family. So they might use their FetLife name, or kind of a scene name might be another term for that. And so it is considered rude to ask somebody what their real name is because they're choosing to protect their identity for a reason. Further, this one, it kind of depends who you ask, but this munch is specifically saying, please refrain from discussing personal vanilla business information such as your profession, college, or church. So you don't want to kind of go in there and be like, oh, what do you do? And where do you live? And what is your real name? And, that can make somebody very uncomfortable. Once you know somebody more, once you know there's some rapport there, that information may be revealed at some point. But I think it's best practice to let them reveal it when they want to. And you reveal it when you want to. Don't feel pressure to do that. So, and then they just say patronize the restaurant. Don't take pictures or videos. So this is a really well done munch that I wanted to point out. They're not going to be all quite this organized, but I do recommend looking to see like, how is the event description written? What sort of practices have they put in place to create a sense of, welcome and a sense of safety for people? And then go and check it out, And I would say, like, give yourself permission to leave quickly if it's not your vibe. And if it is, stay and have fun. And, there's no pressure to make play dates with people. Maybe you're going to these munches because they do tend to be recurring. maybe you go for 6 months before you even meet anyone outside of the month, but you just go and have a nice time and start becoming part of the community and learning about people's reputations and, who you're a good fit with and who you're not. And there's also no pressure to ever play with anyone. It could just be like, hey, I identify as kinky, you do. It would be nice to have friends who just kind of get it. And there's a lot of people in the kink community who are up for platonic friendships. So I hope that helps. If you guys have any more questions about FetLife, Munches, how to meet other people in the kink community and find partners of any kind, let me know. And I will see you guys later.